Mr. Swinger One here. Welcome back to the channel. We're getting back into this power steering pump, this Mopar Federal style pump rebuild. It is going back together. So I have it disassembled. I didn't video that because I figure I'll film the assembly. Everybody will get to see what's inside one. It's all cleaned up going back together. Disassembly is basically, or assembly is the opposite of disassembly. So by watching it go back together, you should be able to know how it comes apart. And there's exploded views and Chilton manuals, and I believe they also come with a rebuild kit. So what happened was there's a delay with this. So the original kit I ordered, the Gates 351160 numbers backwards on the camera. This is for the Federal style pump. I went to start assembling this and film the video, and then this shaft seal was too big. I'm like, okay, this is the wrong parts. So I had to go back, order a new kit. This is an affordable Sunsong 8401036. It has that gray, like butterfly looking paper gasket that the Federals have. So I'm assuming it's the right kit. The other kit did not have that paper gasket in it. So I was going to reuse the old one. But yeah, we're getting back to it. I'm going to attempt to film the assembly and get this thing back on the car, see what we got going on. All right. Here's our instructions. What I'm seeing is there is a colored in black dot and a clear white dot. So this is a complete seal kit, yes. So as you get in the exploded view, you'll see shaft seal, black dot. Yes, it's in the kit. Bushing. No, it's not in the kit. Fiber shim, black dot. Yes, it's in the kit. Shaft seal, yes. So you're going to see these series of black and white dots. There's not a lot. But yes, there is bushings in the housing. I guess they could be replaced. I'm reusing my old ones. They don't look bad. But that's the way you would interpret this kit. Anything with a black dot on it's in the kit. It's a lot of O-rings. So this is similar. This is like you tear this down, inspect the parts. If you were to need the rotor, if you would need that part, you would then go on, go try to find a rotor from a power steering rebuild, actual business people that rebuild stuff. But this kit is basically the seals and O-rings. And that's just the overview of that. And then what you would do is you would just follow this exploded view, put it together. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to drive the shaft seal into the cast housing. Okay, so first things first, I have the housing here. It's relatively clean. This pump was rebuilt like 20 years ago. And then what happened was the flow control valve backed out of the bore. That was the failure on this. I suspected there was a problem with the flow control valve, but it backed out of the bore, and if you could see this little dent it put in the case. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try and hammer and dolly that flat, and I'm going to scuff this and get a coat of paint on it and let that hang and dry while I start assembling the rest of the pump. So as you can see, it already has a coat of paint on it. I'll probably Scotch-Brite it and just hit it again with a gloss black or a satin black. Alright, so I have a heel dolly here. This rounded edge I'm going to put to the rounded outside edge. Up in there like that. Just got to turn it over and try and tap this dent out. And I'm kind of feeling with my fingers, seeing if I'm making any progress. And you could hear the sound of the you can hear the sounds going from hollow to solid because the metal's flattening down onto the heel dolly. I don't know if you could tell by the camera sound, but that's more of a solid hit on the dolly, which means it's getting to be flat. And you wouldn't be able to tell by looking in there. But yeah, it's feeling flat. And it's flat enough, I think, we could scuff and paint. And it's not that the dent's going to be seen. It's just a little extra step to make a better job. I mean, these pumps, this pump, I know I rebuilt this twice. Who knows how many times before. But to get longevity out of this housing, you just kind of want to keep it as nice as can be. Basically for the next guy, right? Hopefully there'll be guys driving these old cars for another 50 years. I like to think. But yeah, that feels pretty flat. I'm not going to get crazy with Bondo or anything. But I'm just going to scuff this and sand it and then hang it and get a coat of paint on it. Okay, so we have our reservoir prepped. This is as clean as I'm going to go with it because I'm pretty sure paint will stick to it. That dent, you can see where it is, but it feels flat. So I'm just going to go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I will admit I did cheat and used air tools. I also used sandpaper. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to mask this off, hang it and shoot it. Because this is the reservoir, so I don't want paint in here. I don't want the oil to eat through the paint and then pump the basically the flaked off paint through the power steering system. So I'm going to take an extra step to tape this whole side off, including the opening, and then hang this and shoot the outside of it with a primer and then a satin or a gloss black. I got to see what I have in my paint cabinet. But, yep, that's the reservoir. We're going to get that painted. All right, we have our first coat of paint on. Well, this is primer. It's about 67 degrees in the shop. I have the heat on. When you spray paint, you want it to be about 70 degrees. Well, that's my personal preference, but high 60s is good. You can kind of see that divot in there a little bit, but I think that'll be all right. It just looks like a pock mark at this point, but that's, I mean, shy of putting Bondo on that and sanding it, which I think is a little over the top, but you could do it if you were really nitpicky. So yeah, as I coat a primer, like I said, it's November, I got the heat on, and you want it to be around 70 degrees. I'm standing here in a t-shirt and it's kind of comfortable, but it's humidity is what I'm feeling. But all that affect paint. If you get much below mid 60s spraying paint, you may have issues. Just keep that in mind. All right. Okay, we got our housing. Gutter seal. I had sprayed some acetone on this. You could use brake cleaner. I like using any cleaner that flashes off quick. So this is going to go in here like this. I have a snap-on socket and a plastic rubber hammer. You don't really want to beat this stuff any harder than what it takes. Don't get crazy with a 24-ounce ball peen, that kind of stuff. Use the right tools for the job. Now, for those of you who don't know, most of these seals have a spring inside them. Hitting it with a hammer can force the spring out. I don't see anything in there. That looks like that went in okay. But yeah, many of mechanic has used a steel hammer on these, deformed them, knocked the spring out. The spring actually squeezes the rubber around the shaft, makes a seal. If that spring pops out, it's going to leak. And you see that on front crank seals on the newer engines that have crank seals like this. Transmission seals, stuff like that. But that's in. That feels flush. On to the next step.